Hello everyone, what's going on? My name is Dank, and today I will be ranking the main Pokemon games by strictly my opinion. And I'm throwing out there that is solely my opinion because I know how strongly certain people feel about this franchise. Know that I did not grow up with these games. I actually got into Pokemon in college, just after the release of Pokemon Go. So please understand that I'm not trying to troll, I'm not trying to go with the popular opinion, nor am I trying to go with the objective list. I'm just going by, 100% good old Mike's opinion. I won't talk about any technical stuff, like special attack split, or whatever it's called. Better men than me have obsessed over that. And you'll also notice that the length of this video is a little bit longer than usual, because we have a lot of games to cover. And this is sort of goes as a retrospective of these games from the viewpoint of a dude who started to play this franchise in 2016. So here we have 7 years of grinding just to get through all these bad boys. Here are my tiers. We have worst, we have Chespin.
The world could do.
That
It's
shit
like
sucks. Damn.
And lackluster, we have Golurk. Mid is Pikachu.
It alright. It not subtle or nuanced. It tasteless and lukewarm. But it alright.
And really good, or great, is my voice Feel.
Nice. Nice. Made me happy, made me smile. Nice.
And greatest, the best, is Alakazam.
That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
Another disclaimer. I have finished most of these games. Mostly just once. But the games I haven't touched or even played enough to form an opinion on are in the haven't played or the Corradon, how do you say that? Section. So I'm sorry about Ultra Sun and Moon. I'm getting there soon, I promise. Also, I was able to play all these games thanks to the kindness of JurtYT's heart. Yes, he let me borrow and even gave me most of these games, and even the means to play them. But enough gab, let's go tier list. Alright, first up we have Gen 1 with Red and Blue, Pokemon Red and Blue. Now, it must be known that without this game, we would not have Pokemon as we know it. We just wouldn't have Pokemon, period. But, that being said, this game aged like milk. I'm sorry. This is coming from a guy who's played a lot of the newer games, so I'm spoiled in all the quality of life changes, I will admit that. But, to me, today, the lack of color, the lack of inventory management or ease of it, and the no sprint, I feel that kind of takes away from the fun this could have been. There was also no sprint, hence some of the slowerness of the game. For HMs, you have to. They're not automatic like they are in later games. Now, I'm not trying to bash this game per se. These quality of life improvements would not exist back then, so the developers would not know to add that stuff. I completely understand that, and I know some of the technical things. I know some of the moves are a little OP or underpowered or what have you. I understand all that. That could not have been changed back in the day, but as of today, by my standards, it's gonna go here. But honestly, that's a good thing. I mean, the first game should always be the worst if you think about it, because that way all the other games improve on the formula. So if anything, this is a compliment to Pokemon, right? But hold on. Let's talk about some positives. I do very much enjoy the Kanto region, and I like most of the 151 Pokemon. Starters, Bulbasaur is one of my favorite ever. And we also have, some goats, like Eevee, and of course my boy Alakazam, even though you have to trade evolution in, but, they deserve some love. And we're talking about, some of the legendaries. These were the first legendaries, so they're more classic. Articuno is my favorite out of all of them. My favorite legendary bird, my favorite Kanto bird, and just my favorite Gen 1 bird. This in yellow, and I'm just saying Gen 1 games, not the remakes. This and yellow have the Mew glitch, which I've done a few times and it is quite fun. I mean, all those negativities being said, I did finish Red, so there's that. Now, all those good things listed before, they're good, they're great even, but luckily because of the remakes, they have been done better. I would only recommend playing Red and Blue if you're a completionist, which I am starting to be. But other than that, I'm sorry, but that is where it shall stay. Next up, we have the enhanced version, Pokemon Yellow. Not too much to say about Yellow, except for it is a marginally improved version of Red and Blue. So,
Bruh.
there we are. Well, one, there's color. Not a lot of color, but there is color. Gotta show respect to that. The story, while more linear, does offer a different experience, and you have the ability to catch all of these starters, which I appreciate. I like being able to have all three of my starters, you know? Now, while it is cool to have Pikachu as your main character, your main Pokemon, I know that your rival has Eevee, and to be perfectly honest, I would rather, have Eevee than Pikachu, but that's just me, alright? Now, of course, this game came out in, the 90s, so the story followed more of the TV show, of the anime story, which in itself is good, and it's bad. In a way, you kind of play as Ash, Ash Ketchum, who I kind of find annoying and obnoxious, but hey, who am I to judge? You don't hear his voice in this game, so I'm A-okay with that. But overall, if you had to play a Gen 1 game, not Kanto, just a Gen 1 game, I would recommend Yellow. Now we go to Gen 2, starting with Pokemon Gold and Silver. My opinion, marginally better. In my opinion, this game is very much better than the Gen 1 offerings, albeit not perfect. I think Johto as a region is quite lovely. I love the ancient spiritual vibe of it, and as a story, it is a pretty decent sequel to the Gen 1 story. The music, oh my lord. So Gen 1 obviously has some classics, Lavender Town, the cave theme, what have you. But Route 29 is one of my all-time favorite gaming scores, period. But I will revisit that when I get into the, Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Talking about starters, Cyndaquil is the GOAT of the starters in Johto. Me and Cyndaquil we go way back. Top 5 best starters of all time. The lore behind the dogs, Johto dogs, and the Johto birds, and Celebi, I find quite interesting. And the fact that you actually get all of Kanto in the post game and see how it changed in 3 years is amazing. I think that's probably the best post game we're ever going to get out of all these games. And I believe that was because the developers didn't think they were going to have 4 Pokemon games. They didn't think it would be a good enough success. But luckily, they were wrong. However, Gen 2 is not perfect. It still has issues. 1, can't run. I mean, they didn't invent that yet, so whatever. Johto is an amazing region, don't get me wrong. But there's a lack of new Pokemon, especially in the beginning. Now, Cyndaquil is a great starter, but Totodile, he's alright. Chikorita, blech. But it's okay. Some of the new Pokemon we get are Mareep and Wooper. They are my boys. God, I love them so. And Skarmory is a badass too. In fact, I named mine Skarloey. Real G's get that reference. But the level scaling in the post-game gets a little ridiculous. And the random encounter thing to catch the dogs is ass, not gonna lie. Unfortunately, this and Heart Gold, Soul Silver will share these issues. But that being said, it is a fun experience that ages better than Gen 1, in my opinion. Of course, next up we have the enhanced version, Pokemon Crystal. Not much really to say, except for Suicune is definitely more involved in the story, and you can play as a girl. Ooh, girls. Oh. But I do confess, I have not played much of it. But what I have played, I definitely like. And because it's, of course, enhanced, it has to go a little bit above Gold and Silver. And now we have Gen 3. Oh yeah, the Game Boy Advance games. Now, be a bit of a spoiler, but all of these games are going in the GOAT tier. Yes, sir.
That's my dog.
Does not get any better than this, in my opinion. Oh man, where do I even start? Where do I even start, boys and girls? Well, the Hoenn region is a classic. I don't care too much water. Get out of here with that. I love it. In my opinion, it is just as memorable as the Kanto region. Diverse landscapes and towns. I'm talking forests, mountains, volcanoes, oceans, log island things, underwater caves, Endor-looking tree houses, so on and so forth. Your character feels more personable. The relationship he has with his dad, who isn't home because he's a gym leader, is a nice and subtle detail. That doesn't take you away from the main story. The different versions, of course, have different bad guy teams with a unique legendary to catch. Hell, Kyogre is my favorite legendary of all time. The best thing about this game is the new Pokemon introduced. So many good Pokemon, like Zigzagoon, Ludicolo, Shroomish, Aron, Gulpin,
These nuts.
Wailord, Trapinch, Milotic, Duskull, Glalie, Spheal, and the best assortment of legendaries and starters. My god, this game has the best 3 starters. No other game will match the quality of additional Pokemon starters, especially legendaries. But I know what you're going to say. But Mike, what if I can't choose between Kyogre and Groudon? Well, don't worry. That is where Emerald comes in.
That's my dog.
Emerald takes both bad guy teams, both legendary mascots, and adds Rayquaza for you to catch. There is just so much game in this game. Emerald has what Ruby and Sapphire offer, and more. And for that, it is not only the best Pokemon game objectively, but one of the best games of all time. That being said, Fire Red and Leaf Green is my favorite Pokemon game ever.
That's my dog.
There you go. It's also my first mainline Pokemon game, and clearly, it did its job right for getting me into the franchise. Of course, this is the first remake of a Pokemon game, and it's a remake of Red and Blue, or really, Red and Green. A little story time for you. It's 2016. I'm in college, being exposed to new things, new experiences. Pokemon Go comes out in the summer, and I've seen Pokemon all throughout my life, but I never partook in it. Until my boy, JurtYT, this sexy man, lets me play his copy of Fire Red on his Game Boy Advanced SP. I've never played a handheld game before in my life, nor was I too well versed in the RPG stuff. So imagine my experience with my first Kanto adventure, picking my first little Charizard and grinding him to a Charmeleon for the first time. I was sitting on the couch, facing away from the TV in the dorm while my friends were gaming, playing Overwatch or whatever. And while they were doing that, I was leveling up my Spearow with this handheld thing. I wasn't even looking at the TV, I wasn't even interacting with the console, I was just doing my own thing. And I know this sounds really stupid, but I've never played a handheld before. This is such a new thing to me. Like the best games, I believe, are the simplest. And this was Pokemon at its best. Simple and not involved with the godlike Pokemons or open world mechanics or even that terribly optimized, 3D graphics. My deepest regret was that I fell out of interest with this game around the Fire Gym. Little did I know how close I was to the Elite Four. Damn it. Of course, I would be thrust right back into Pokemon, again, thanks to a later entry. But you never forget your first, if you know what I mean. What a beautiful game. What wonderful 2D graphics, smooth and streamlined gameplay, awesome sprites, and very, very charming music. I especially love the Seafoam Isles. Even though I hate caves, I just love the colors of that area. Hell, the color work in all of Gen 3 is immaculate. But more than that, the game is majorly improved from its Gen 1 counterpart. I mean, how can it not? It's a remake. Easier to manage inventory and Pokemon. And you can run. What more do we need to say? If you want to play some Pokemon, like some good Pokemon, like that top shelf stuff, we have 3 games. We have Fire Red, Leaf Green, Emerald, and a future entry that we'll not discuss yet, but I'll get there. And I mean no disrespect to Ruby and Sapphire. It's just that Emerald has what Ruby and Sapphire offer, but more, However, like I said, this is as high as Pokemon get. It goes down from here. With exception, of course. Last I'll say about Fire Red and Leaf Green. If you are interested in ROM hacks, I beg you, I implore you, look for Pokemon Ultra Violet. It combines all of the events and all the available Pokemon of Fire Red and Leaf Green. It is the quintessential way of experiencing Gen 1 if you can do ROM hacks. Yep, now we're at Gen 4.
Bruh.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Diamond and Pearl. I have a myriad of issues with the game that I'll talk about. The Sinnoh terrain, the legendaries, the events, the lackluster sprite work. Fundamental flaw of Diamond and Pearl is that it is so god-damned slow. Battles take way too long to occur. God help you if you are treading through the grass and run into a wild Pokemon, or 5. Each encounter feels like a year, and even the wild battle music sounds like ass. Like, why does it sound like a baby fire alarm? Lest we forget about that one video that encapsulates the agony of this slow-ass game. The one where Heracross and Blissey duke it out. It takes a millennium for Blissey just to die. I don't know if this game just wasn't optimized properly from the DS, but it takes all the fun out of Diamond and Pearl. The speed, or lack thereof, isn't my only grievance. The terrain of Sinnoh is hell to navigate. On top of the time-consuming wild battles, you have to trudge through swamps, blizzards that also slow you down. Now on paper, it is awesome to get different biomes, don't get me wrong, but they shouldn't add tedium to the game. And don't get me started on how certain routes are reliant on you having every HM and its mother to get by. And now the legendaries. It is my opinion that Gen 4 is the point where I start to care little about the legendary Pokemon. I think Gen 3 stretched the importance of them as far as they go, having two big-ass monsters battling out until the big Skyworm comes down to tell them knock it off is all you needed. We don't need incarnations of time and space and dark matter, let alone God the Pokemon. This takes it too far in my opinion. We don't need the creation of the universe in our simple having pets fight each other game. Breaks the immersion. Also, while event Pokemon have existed way before this game, Diamond and Pearl are excessive for their time-limited events. I hate the idea that part of the game can only be played legit if you just happen to exist at one point in time. Like, all this stuff should be post-game. And this goes especially for having the Arceus event. Like, if you're going to have people play as God, why limit it to just an event? But maybe, that's just a Nintendo thing. Limit games releases so that if you want to play legit, you have a limited time to buy the game, or else you get nothing. In fact, now that I think about it, unless you're lucky enough to get these older games back then, or have a dank-ass friend like, Joe, to let you borrow them, you're kind of shit out of luck, even though Pokemon has made Nintendo a shitload of money. Meanwhile, if you want to play all the Halo games, or COD, Xbox will gladly let you do so, via Game Pass, and backwards compatibility. Sony doesn't let you play older titles because they screwed up the PS3 coding. Whatever, it was a mistake. Nintendo has no excuse for this practice. But hey, maybe they somehow profit better from it, but I digress. Let's go on. The sprites are also a step down from Gen 3. It's like Gen 3 nailed the design simplicity, while Gens 4 and up over-detail them. Now hold on. I don't hate Gen 4. I find Sinnoh to be an average to good region aesthetically. I like Team Galactic, especially when they commit a war crime against the Magikarp. I don't really care much for the starters, but except for Piplup. Me and that bird, he's my boy, good penguin dude. I like the newer forms of older Pokemon, like Licky, Yanmega, Magnezone, Electivire, and so on. Probably the best thing about Diamond and Pearl is the music. Some of the best tracks in the series. The lake theme is a vibe, and I consider Cynthia's battle theme a legendary video game track. I highly encourage you to check out the Smash Ultimate version of that. It's wild. But that's all I have to say about Diamond and Pearl. Alright, now we have Platinum. It's Diamond and Pearl, but faster, and with more stuff. So, obviously, it's better.
Oh my god!
Like with most enhanced editions, this is the one to play, for sure. I could get into the Giratina stuff, but I won't, because the fact that it is faster is good. Like you can actually enjoy Gen 4 for what it is. And there is good stuff to be had there, so if you're to play Gen 4, you don't want to torture yourself. Platinum's way to go, baby. Oh yeah. Now remember a minute or so back when I said there were 3 games I consider to be the go-to Pokemon games? I said Emerald, I said Fire Red and Leaf Green. Well, there's another one. Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Yes, sir. Right here.
That's my dog.
Without a doubt, Heart Gold and Soul Silver is the best anything to come out of Gen 4. It's the vibe of Johto, but with the quality of life changes and the advantage of the 2 screens from the DS. The vibe is amplified by the newer graphics and the higher quality sound. The music alone is a treat to listen to. Storytime. When I got back into Pokemon after beating Kanto, I was quick to borrow Soul Silver from Mr. Joe and explore Johto for the first time. This was a whole new adventure. I've never been outside of Kanto in-game, nor played with any of the Pokemon outside the OG 151. The sense of adventure and excitement was captured in the music of Route 29, which, again, I consider to be one of the best in all of Pokemon. Quite the cheery tune. Aside from that, the sprite work is also definitely an improvement from Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. And the fact that you can have one of your buddies follow you in the overworld is something I need to give Gen 4 praise for. I love having my boy Typhlosion walking behind me, Funny enough, I was actually kind of let down playing it for the first time, due to the lack of new Pokemon, and the game was definitely harder than what I was used to. This game, like all of Gen 4, has a lot of limited time events, which is great if you know how to hack them in, but you know my opinion about that. As the years went on, I came to appreciate all the great content offered by this game. I got a repro cart of Heart Gold on Etsy, and I'm able to trade Pokemon from it, so I'm a happy boy until it breaks. Definitely one of the best games here, hands down. A lot can be said about Gen 5. There are definitely huge improvements from Gen 4, but also some major flaws that hurt the franchise. So, let's talk about the good first, right? It plays a lot better and a lot faster than Gen 4. Very snappy. Like, when I first started playing Gen 5, I don't think I turned off the battle animations because there was no point. The game was fast enough. And so, the game's fun. The game is fun, and that is the most important thing a game can be, is fun. I'm just throwing that out there now before I rip into it. Story also is interesting. Definitely different than what we've had before, with more character moments, especially with N, and the girl character dealing with her asshole of a dad. Alright, now for the not fun stuff. Here we go. Ready? This game is ugly as hell. The color palette is washed out with a lot of brown and gray. It doesn't really pop out as much as the games prior, not even Gen 4. The UI is also kind of lame. It's very, like, 2000s cool kid, spy kid looking ass aesthetics. And on a personal note, I'm not the biggest fan of the Unova region. Now, for those of you who don't know, Unova is based on the United States, and each game prior has been based on a region in Japan. Now, hold on. I love my country. I love America. America is the best place to live on the entire planet. But here's the thing. I can go outside, and I can travel. I can drive, fly somewhere really quick, and I can experience all these places from black and white. But Gens 1 and 4 were, of course, set in Japan. And I feel that added a layer of adventure to that fantastic world, because I've never been to Japan, you know? But that's just my preference. Although I do wonder this. Pokemon is marketed all throughout the world, but mainly in Japan. So the Japanese kids playing these games are familiar with those regions. And since this game is really in America, and the next game, of course, is in France, and then the islands, and the UK, Spain, and so on and so forth, I wonder how those kids feel about the differences from that versus being in the Japanese region that they're used to. Food for thought. Let me know in the comments if you know anything. Alright, let's go back to the main problem I have with Black and White. It is my opinion that Gen 5 did irreparable damage to the Pokédex. There are some lackluster and stupid, ugly Pokemon introduced here. We have the ice cream cone, the stupid dog, the stupid cat, the stupid frog, the stupid zebra, the gears, Norm of the North, and of course, who could forget, Trash, and his evolution, Bigger Trash. The worst part is that these sons of bitches come back in every game after this, it feels like. Like in Sword and Shield, it feels like a third of the Pokemon are from Gen 5. Oh, and the legendaries. From this point on, the legendaries are all dog shit, and severely lackluster. Like Swords of Justice, kiss my ass. There are two Pokemon I cherish from this game, though. The Firestarter, Tepig, and of course, the Lord himself, Amoonguss. Look, he's even pogging. How cool is that? I am ragging on this game quite a bit, but again, it is a lot faster than Gen 4. It's fun, alright? It is fun. At the end of the day, a game needs to be fun first, and look good next. But the new Pokemon offered here are the worst in any game, in my opinion. And here we have Black 2, White 2. Yes, sir. Admittedly, I haven't really played much of it. I played once during a Nuzlocke with, Joe of JurtYT and Kyler from KyGuyYT. We didn't get far, and I don't recall much, but what I remember was cool. So I'm going to place it right here. And thus, not only ends Gen 5, not only the DS games, but the 2D era as a whole, as it is now time for 3D. Oh yeah. Starting, of course, with Gen 6 on the 3DS. How did X and Y do in bringing us this new age? Pretty good, I'd say.
Oh my god!
I definitely feel like this game is more average on paper, but I'm definitely more biased towards it. I definitely found it a lot more fun than Gen 5, for example. The story itself is emotionally compelling, actually, for the most part. The backstory for the king and his beloved Pokemon is great, actually kind of heartfelt. How he sacrificed many Pokemon to bring him back to life, only for the Pokemon to be repulsed by the carnage in his name and left. However, the larger group of friends that your character interacts with is kind of annoying, especially that fat bastard who likes to dance a lot. The Kalos region is good, based on France this time around. Kalos is definitely closer to what one would expect from a Pokemon region. A decent swath of locations and settings. That being said, I heavily dislike Lumio City, however. Way too large and hard to navigate, and get to where you want to go. The open world design beginning to rear its ugly head. The new Pokemon introduced are slightly better than Gen 5, but it's a bit of a mixed bag. I like Fennekin, Tailo, Skiddo, Pandoro, Sylveon, and Bergmite. I don't care much about the rest, and I personally hate Chespin, just for design alone. But the 3D sprites are implemented well, with some exception, like Typhlosion, infamously. The other big deal of this game is the Mega Evolutions, and from here on out, all Pokemon games add a new evolution or move type to be unique. All are ass sans the Mega Evolutions, of course. I like how all you have to do is find the stone that makes a certain Pokemon Mega Evolve, and most of the time the Mega Evolution looked badass. Like, look at Blastoise. A big cannon. All in all, X and Y is a solid experience. My only regret is that we never got Pokemon Z. Alright, now we have Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. It's Ruby Sapphire Emerald, but remade in 3D, and boy is it fun. In fact, it's probably my favorite 3D Pokemon game ever.
Oh my god!
This was actually my first adventure into Hoenn, as I played this after Soul Silver, and it answered all my original complaints about Johto. That being that there are a bunch of new Pokemans from the beginning, not just post-game. Basically, take all my praise from Ruby Sapphire Emerald and apply it to a 3D world, plus Mega Evolutions, minor quality of life features, and probably the thing that cements it as the #1 3D game is the Delta episode postgame. Yes sir, instead of making it an exclusive event, in the postgame you can catch Rayquaza, even though you can't get him in the original Ruby Sapphire, and even battle and capture Deoxys. There's some damn good lore in here. I think this game confirms that X and Y and ORAS take place in a different timeline, with one having the Kalos War and Megas and one that doesn't. Even the name of the remake has a meaning. Now, let's go back for a second. In the first remake, we have Fire Red and Leaf Green. Fire and Leaf represent, destruction and creation. Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I am not so sure. Maybe Ho-Oh represents Heart and Lugia Soul? I don't know, tell me in the comments please, because I have no idea. But ORAS has the best implementation of the remake name. In Omega Ruby, Maxie wants to push the Earth to its final land-covered barren state. Its Omega state, if you will. And Archie wants to revert the planet to its prehistoric water-covered state, its Alpha state. Now, the reason why this game is not in the top tier is 1, it's not a remake of Emerald, and 2, nothing against ORAS, but Ruby Sapphire Emerald is just so good on its own. Like, it's nothing against the remake, just that the original are just that good. But all in all, this is a fantastic game. Like, if you have to play any 3D Pokemon game, play this one. And now for something completely different, and very much so. We have Sun and Moon, Gen 7. Now, Sun and Moon, for those of you who don't know, this takes place in the Alola region, which is a bunch of tropical islands, like a vacation spot almost. And the Pokemon themselves reflect that. Like, there are a lot of new colorful little creatures in this one. And Sun and Moon is actually the last game I need to play in order to catch up to the modern day Pokemon games. So how did I like it? I liked it fine. Really, all my gripes are mostly like nitpicks and preferences, except for the unskippable cutscenes and dialogue. And unfortunately, this will be a nasty problem from here on out. It's not that the cutscenes are so long, it's that you always have to keep pressing A to keep them going. So you can't put down the 3DS and do something else. You actually have to move the stuff along, and I don't like that. To be honest, I prefer a more basic region, like in the first 4 games. But Alola is pretty cool, and I respect the general vibe of it. I like that when you leave the house in the beginning, you can almost feel like the ocean wind, because you're right along the beach. This game is as open world as I'd prefer, despite it being mostly routes and towns. The camera angle is lower, so it feels different, and I think that's cool. And they redo the whole gym thing too. you have to fight the kahuna of each of the 4 islands. And there are totem Pokemon. So I really do dig the changes to the formula. The story is alright, cutscenes aside. In fact, without that, I'd probably be more into the story. The conflict between Lily and her mother is intriguing. They really get the feeling of the relationship realistic, I think, between mother and daughter. I don't, however, care for the legendaries, the Tapus, and the Ultras, and what have you. I feel like their designs are too zany, but that's just me. What I do like are the new Pokemon. The starters are great. We have, got a little kitty cat. The other Pokemon are cool too. We have Toucan Sam, Donald Trump, Donkey, Mr. Burns, Beta Sim Salamander, Monkey, Mimikyu, and the thing from Never Ending Story, and of course, an anchor. There are some dumb designs here though. Like, why is there a sandcastle Pokemon? That's stupid as shit. Now, this one technically came from Pokemon Go, but I hate Meltant and I especially hate Melmetal. I hate what they stand for in regards to the hoops you have to jump through just to get this bastard. To end on a good note though, I really like the Alolan versions of some of the older Pokemon. I'm glad that these games are making alt versions of Pokemon depending on the region. Story time again. I remember when these games first came out. In fact, once again, I was in college, but this was before I really got into Pokemon. Joe, Kai, and our other good friend, Connor of MixedMechanic, all got the game first night it was out. And they were all on the couch playing. It was Friday night, so I had to go to bed early because I had to volunteer the next morning. When I got up, all but Joe were passed the fuck out, and Joe had on these goofy-ass sunglasses for staring at the screen for hours. It was quite the comical scene. But that concludes my thoughts for Sun and Moon. And like I mentioned before, I have not yet played Ultra Sun and Moon, but I'll get there. I promise. I promise. But let's finish off Gen 7 with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I think this is the first gen to transcend consoles. It's pretty cool. But, alright, here's the thing. I have a wicked bias for this game, so please just hear me out. As I said before, I played Fire Red Leaf Green and nearly finished it, but lost interest like a goon. Time goes on, and we get a Switch. And on the way back from a funeral, I believe, my then girlfriend, now fiance, we make an impromptu stop at a GameStop and get Let's Go Eevee because her brother was playing it at the time, and that's what started her interest. For the rest of the drive, she was playing the game and she fell in love with it. She loved the cute Eevee that you can pet and praise and such throughout the game. It was very cute. I would then borrow the game from her and finally beat Kanto. This game reminded me why I got into Pokemon. The creatures, the adventure, the music, the presentation, and sometimes the story. And so I got right back on the Pokemon train. Now hold on, I'm willing to take off my rose-colored glasses and discuss the flaws of Let's Go. This is a fancy redo of Pokemon Yellow, with more focus on style than the game, I think. There's actually no battling wild Pokemon. You can only catch them in a similar style to Pokemon Go. It doesn't matter though because the game is very easy. Your starter, Pikachu or Eevee, is OP as fuck, but it is a gorgeous game. The orchestral music is epic and wonderful, and the graphics look well made, unlike every future Pokemon unfortunately released from here. In a way, this is kind of like baby's first Pokemon game. Very easy, but gets you in. It sucked me back into the franchise, so clearly it worked. The only issue was, because the game was so easy, that when I got into Soul Silver, I got my ass kicked. I'd say this is a game you play once, especially if you love Pikachu and Eevee. The ability to pet them and dress them up and treat them like a pet is insanely wholesome. Also, I believe this is the first in-game appearance of Leaf, right? But, all that being said, I'm going to rank Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Also, I believe you can also get the Alola versions of the Gen 1 Pokemon, and there's Mega Evolutions. That is also cool. Alright, I hope I didn't lose any viewers watching that. Because if you didn't like where I put Let's Go Eevee, you're not going to like where I put the next few games. Here we have Pokémon Sword and Shield. This is the first game I played as it came out, and all throughout its life cycle. It is the first game I really played with my friends, trading and raiding and such. Hence my little bias with it.
Oh my god!
Now, I know the game is objectively nothing special, but goddamn, did I sink a lot of time into it. Yes, sir. Now we are in the Galar region, which is like Great Britain. And I've always wanted to go to Britain. Have some tea and crumpets, meet Doctor Who and Harry Potter, and ride a big-ass train to London. So, more bias. Great. This region is diverse for me, though. I especially like Stow-on-Side, Spikemuth, and Balonlia, however the hell you say that. I found the wild area to be the most open world I'm willing to accept in a Pokemon game. I especially love the raids. It's a good way to level up and team up with your boys. The starters are alright. I hate, absolutely hate Raboot's design with every fiber of my being. Reminds me of that weird kid from school that always wears windbreaker pants and sandals, always be sniffing boogers, greasy as hell. And I realize that description is very specific, and I might be projecting, so I digress. I like the first evolution of the monkey. I like the color scheme. Very popping. But Sobble is my guy. It's my boy. And his evolution is quite the story. First, he's a little crybaby kid. Then he's an edgy emo alt kid. Like it's not a phase, mom. Don't come to school tomorrow, looking ass. And then his final Evo, he looks like Squidward. In fact, his Dynamax form makes it makes some sense for how I described him earlier. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But we got some decent new Pokemon this time around. Like, we have Peter Griffin Squirrel, Apple, Corgi, Dreadnought, Eldegoss, Wooloo, Bukaki, and my boy Snom. I should also mention that I started to play the card game during this generation, so some of those guys helped me out there. The legendary dogs are decent. I mean, at least I can tell that they're dogs and not whatever. I can take or leave the Dynamax thing. I think the whole alt form is stupid. Now, Sword and Shield did something different for the postgame. Instead of an enhanced game like Pokemon Gun or Pokemon Crossbow or something, we got 2 DLCs that bring back older Pokemon and chances to catch every legendary Pokemon from Gen 1 onward. This, however, leads to a big issue I have with the Switch games. And you guys might know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Dexit. You can't access the full Pokédex from here on out. So there are going to be some Pokemon chilling in Pokemon Home because there is no game compatible with them. Now, I know we broke 1K Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet, but I feel like there's got to be a way for coding to allow them all to exist, like the models, you know? But that being said, I still had a ton of fun with this game, and this is reflected to the amount of time I spent into this game. But all that being said, I cannot deny I really had a lot of fun with this game. It has just dawned upon me that I screwed up Crystal's placement. There we go. Now, never mind that. We're on to Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the Gen 4 remake. Now, did it improve things from the original Gen 4? I'd say so. There we go. It is slightly faster than the original Diamond and Pearl, and the chibi art style is cute, I think. I like it. I can't really say much is different past the style and the underground. Oh, yeah, so there's an underground tunnel network thing that you can access whenever. And you can dig in the wall and get stones, fossils, various items and shit. You can also go into these room things and find Pokemon related to the type of room it is. So if you went to like a grassy room, you get grass Pokemon. I spent most of my time in this game actually doing that. You can catch every regular Pokemon from Gen 1 to Gen 4. So the good ones, am I right, guys? Post-game will actually let you catch all of the legendary Pokemon from Gen 1 to 3, which I think is really cool. And living through this game's life, and even Sword and Shield, I did not miss an event. So it got me a Shaman and an Arceus legit, and all those other fuckers. My opinion on the idea of time-limited events still stands. I know some people were let down that there's not much more to this game than the original game, which I can understand, don't get me wrong. I also don't get the naming. It's just like an additional adjective to the original game's names. It's like there's no deeper meaning. Like, what is there a deeper meaning to Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl? To me, I think that's a wasted opportunity. I would have named them Temporal Diamond and Spatial Pearl. But, I mean, other than that, it's a mid-decent game. I mean, if you like Gen 4, probably gonna like that. Speaking of Sinnoh, we have Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, look, I'm trying to get into this game. I really am. I respect that it's a whole new deal. All the mechanics are different, but honestly, it does not play well for me. Maybe it's just the lacking processing power of the Switch. Maybe the controls are just not what I like. I don't know. I do like how the new Pokemon are ancient versions of the older Pokemon, which is a nice detail. And I really respect that it's doing something new. But I'm having a hard time playing it. I'm having a hard time getting into it. So, forgive me. I'm sorry.
Bruh.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if it was Legends like Rayquaza, maybe I'd be more for it, but yeah, I'm sorry. Scarlet and Violet, Gen 9. Oh boy. Oh, there we go. This game was almost on the other side of Red and Blue, but I am a merciful God. Alright, yeah, obviously I don't care much for this game. I keep mentioning how I don't like open world Pokemon, and this game is why. 1. The Switch just does not have that power. Like it did for Breath of the Wild, but for some reason not here. 2. It looks like hell on handheld. And 3. The world itself is a bitch and a half to navigate. Especially in the early game when your riding dude doesn't have that many moving abilities. The unskippable dialogue is annoying as all hell to get past. I don't care one bit what these characters are saying. I am currently, at this time, hate playing through this game as I speak. I just want to beat Gen 8, so I can say I beat all the gens, and then head back to Ultra, maybe Arceus if you're lucky. Things I like. I like some of the new guys. Lechonk, and, well, there's another kitty cat starter that unfortunately turns into a furry bipedal. Alright, but alright. The story of Arvin, or whatever his name is compelling, I guess. Like, I feel bad for his big old dog. He's trying to get his old sick dog to get better. He got injured while battling, I think. And I tried to rush through all those Titan bastards just so the dog could live. I feel like if you grew up with a dog and watched him get old and go to doggy heaven, you can kind of relate to Arvin's scenario. I do like that you can auto-battle wild Pokemon. That saves a lot of time. And once again, your Pokemon can follow behind you, which is cool. I like that. I dig the raids coming back. I like raids. But overall, I don't think this is a well-made game at all. And I'm quite disappointed that Nintendo, with all their money and income, can make a game this shit and call it a day. I mentioned before, Red and Blue, they were the first. They should be the worst game, because they had all these years to improve. And they did. Just for them to make this. I think it's a waste. I think it's shameful. Honest to God. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is my tier list for Pokemon games. Overall, I am really glad I got into the franchise of Pokemon. This series has taken good care of me, and I had a ton of fun playing it. Some of these games I consider to be my favorite of all time. Big ups to Joe for letting me borrow most of this stuff. Shout out to 8-Bit Hall of Fame for selling me some of them too, as well as my kick-ass 2DS that looks like a Pokeball. My only sad thoughts are that there's no accessible way to play these older games. The 3DS marketplace is offline for good, so if you want to buy Gen 7 and older in physical form, you're fucked. I'm begging. I beg you, Nintendo, please give these games ports on the Switch. Like, come on. Pokemon is one of your top earners in your business. Now, I don't really know how you run business over in Japan, but if you really want profit, not just revenue, you want profit, this is what you do. Because I don't think porting this game, or these games, should be that hard. Please allow us to give you money to play them. It's not like Nintendo is being greedy here. They're either being stupid or complete asshole cocksucker bastards. Again, shit on Xbox all you like. Please do. But they give you the opportunity to play their flagship games whenever and however. But as of now, Nintendo is not making any money on Red and Blue to the Ultra games. So Gens 1 to 7, they are not making money. And unless you want to pay top dollar, your only choice is to emulate them. Emulation is not a hard thing to do if you have a decent PC or laptop. Emulation is not illegal. Piracy is. So I can't condone it. So how you get the ROMs to emulate them is between you and God. Don't let me know how you do it. I don't support piracy. I'm just saying Nintendo isn't actively making money on those games, so they won't get hurt if you emulate them. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And emulation too is a mixed bag. Like, you have to play with a controller, because the keyboard and mouse feels just wrong, feels awkward. I would highly, highly recommend, though, checking out Pokemon MMO. It's Gens 1 to 5, but with the Gen 5 graphics. And it's an MMO. It's quite cool and quite well made. Other than that, maybe get an R4 card, but I don't know how to do that, so there might be some risk. Never mind that. All in all, this is a damn good series of games. I wish I had gotten to them sooner. But that's all I have to say for you today. Thank you for watching, thank you for your time, and I hope I entertained you. Until then, I'm Dr. Dank, signing out. Peace.